Boys and girls, welcome in. Divisional round is in the books. We have our AFC championship game and our NFC championship games set. We're going to see the Chiefs taking on the Bills once again. And you got the Eagles and Commanders, an NFC East battle on the NFC side of the bracket. If you're in here, hit that like button. Greatly appreciate it. If you would, this stream powered by BetUS. If you haven't done so already, head over there, get a 150% bonus match on your first deposit up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. Who is the Jets' next head coach going to be? Jeff Ulbrich already going back to Atlanta, going to be their defensive coordinator. Got Aaron Glenn, Brian Flores, both bounced out of the playoffs just a little bit early. And then you got Joe Brady sitting there plus 500. Who do you think the Jets should be bringing in as their head coach? Does this divisional round change your thought process at all? I want to get into it. I want to talk about each one of the games. I want to get some of your thoughts in the comment section and whatnot. But thank you so much for sponsoring the show. Boys and girls, we started Saturday off with a Chiefs-Texans matchup. And man, I was just hoping not to have to see Patrick Mahomes in another championship game, because I don't even want to have the opportunity to see this dude go to another Super Bowl. Like, I am so over the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes flopping all the time. He very much, like, for a guy that I really liked probably like 5 years ago, not even that long ago, like 3 years ago, he's just like a complete whiner. All the things I hated about Tom Brady are like manifesting themselves within Patrick Mahomes. He's just like a crazy athletic version of it. And maybe that's just me just being jealous that they keep going to damn championship games. He's 7-0 in the divisional round. Patrick Mahomes is. This Texans game, Texans had a ton of penalties. Their special teams were absolutely terrible. And Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs wind up winning 23-14. Jets obviously put in a request, and I think did interview Spagnuolo, or at least were interested in it. Borgonzi, the GM, officially going to Tennessee. He's going to have the #1 overall pick. I can understand why that would be so attractive for that GM location, or for a GM in that location. Which direction do the Jets go? We know they like Alex Hallaby from the Eagles. We know they like the guy from the Packers. I don't know if Dimitrov's still in the conversation or John Robinson. Going to be interesting to see which direction they go. I get the feeling now that Borgonzi's off the table, I don't think Spagnuolo or Matt Nagy are going to be of interest for the New York Jets. Houston Texans. They got a bright future ahead of them. Easy division. Just went up against the wrong team, the refs. Well, they have 9 penalties in that game. Can't do that against the Chiefs and expect to win. The NFC side of the Saturday games was an electric bout, and one that Jet fans were keeping a close eye on. Future potential Jets head coach Aaron Glenn on the defensive side of the Lions did not have himself a nice day. Not just him, but the Lions in general, and just defense in general. It's not like the Commanders really had like a great defensive standing either. This game was very much a Ben Johnson versus Cliff Kingsbury style of game. Not so much a detractor to Aaron Glenn's game. I think from an optics standpoint, a lot of fans will say like, oh, well, look what just happened to him in the playoffs. And I'll be honest, that was when I'm sitting here watching it, I'm not thinking less of Aaron Glenn. I'm thinking a lot higher of Ben Johnson and Cliff Kingsbury and the types of offenses that they can produce. And that's not to say that Aaron Glenn can't be a really good head coach. Heck, Dan Quinn, head coach of the Commanders, defensive guy. So you can have a defensive-minded head coach and still have plenty of success on offense. Now, obviously, Cliff Kingsbury's in a very unique situation. He's getting paid like a head coach, $7.5 million a year till 2027. There's a lot of money for an offensive coordinator. He's going to have the opportunity, if he wants it, to ride out Jaden Daniels' rookie contract. I mean, heck, making it to an NFC Championship game his rookie year, wildly impressive. And based on how Jalen Hurts looks to be feeling, maybe, they might have a good opportunity to get to the Super Bowl. But he's going to be able to sit back, collect his money, his accolades, and he can pick and choose where he's going to want to go. Just like Ben Johnson's able to select, hey, I want to go to this place. He's going to either the Bears or the Raiders. I think he's going to go to the Raiders, ultimately. Or the, what was the other team he was interviewing? Jaguars, I think was the other team he was interviewing for. Cliff Kingsbury is going to be able to write his own ticket. So he's going to be able to go for one, possibly more Super Bowls if things shake out the right way. And he's going to be the top candidate whenever he does want to accept head coaching opportunities, which means if Arch Manning or another quarterback that sets themselves apart is going to be the likely or presumptive number one overall pick in a draft, either in 2025, 2026, 2027, whatever you want to say the year would be, Cliff Kingsbury can almost guarantee himself that quarterback. So if he wants to have success with Jaden Daniels and then tie his ship to Arch Manning wherever that's going to be, that's the downside. You wouldn't be able to pick the team necessarily that you're going to be able to draft this quarterback to. But you can almost guarantee yourself the quarterback because the team that's going to be picking number one in that draft class likely is going to be looking for a head coach as well. So he's going to be able to write his own ticket. And man, those offenses looked ridiculous. The Ben Johnson play with the two laterals, or I guess one was a lateral and one was a pitch forward, whatever it was. I've never seen a play like that in my life. One of the most electric plays I've ever seen, wildly creative, and I don't understand why the Jets have never been able to do anything like this. And I think watching this game makes me sit back and say, man, Joe Brady would be really nice. Maybe a wild stab in the dark at Josh McCown. I saw he's not going to take an offensive coordinator position. He only wants a head coaching role. If you're going to roll the dice, you might want to do it on the offensive side of the ball. Joe Brady, for me, someone I liked in the past too. I liked him as an offensive coordinator option when we were going through like, oh, where could he potentially land? Actually, I think this was going back to like the Adam Gase years, if memory serves correct. Unless that was Robert Saleh, whatever. Very much liked Joe Brady coming out of LSU before he went to the Panthers, and he's just revitalized the offense in Buffalo. Not to say that Allen wouldn't have gone off the way he's gone off, but the running game looks significantly better. The turnovers are cut down, and these are things that I think the Jets can very much utilize, while also taking away a critical piece to the Bills' offense and to their organization. You saw a clear difference when Ken Dorsey left and Joe Brady stepped in up there. If you do want to go with Aaron Glenn, which is totally fine, I don't mind you going with Aaron Glenn. Who are you getting for offensive coordinator? Are you going to be able to attract Tanner Engstrand? Or is he going to be elevated to the new offensive coordinator and he's not going to want to leave to go take on some passion project that could be the Jets when he can sit there in Detroit and have an established team around him, a culture around him that he's worked to build? Who's coming as OC with Aaron Glenn? That's probably my biggest concern. Beyond the Commanders and Lions game, you got the Eagles and Rams. And today, the Sunday games for the divisional round, just like peppered with snow. Not so much in Buffalo, oddly enough, but the Eagles game was a sloppy mess. Saquon Barkley is an absolute stud. The running game can absolutely win. I think they were like bottom 3, bottom 4 in the league in terms of passes this year, pass attempts, the Eagles were. And they just find ways to win. They find ways to win. I don't think Jalen Hurts is a great quarterback by any means. I think he's efficient with the ball. I think he was he 15 out of 20, I think, today? Tough as nails. Dude got banged around, twisted up. Saquon Barkley, if you didn't see the clip, Saquon turns to Hurts, goes, watch this, and then immediately takes off on like a wild run to ice the game. I do like seeing that. It does make you think. I've heard a lot of people compare Jalen Milroe to Jalen Hurts. Is that a direction you wouldn't mind going? I mean, heck, they keep getting to the NFC Championship game. Maybe there's something to it. I honestly have no idea what I want the Jets to do for quarterback. I don't know if I want... Rodgers comes back, cool. Why not? Jets want to take quarterback at 7, cool. Why not? They want to wait till the second round? All right. Want to punt on it till next year? Cool. I just want it to work. I don't care how you do it. These teams are showing you all these different ways to do it. You could have the Hall of Famer level guys like Mahomes and Allen. You can have the spark of a rookie immediately come in Jaden Daniels. You change the coaching regime, change the fucking owner, new quarterback. All of a sudden, they're in the championship game. Got the Eagles running the ball. Jets can be a ground and pound type team. You can play some ball control. But you got to be able to throw it when it matters most. Then tonight, we got to see Bills, Eagles. No, sorry. Who was that other team? Bills, Ravens, the other birds. Ah, man, I was pulling for Lamar. Mark Andrews dropping that 2-point conversion in the end zone. Brutal way to end a season. You're not going to win many games turning the ball over 3 times. Yeah, they had an interception, 2 fumbles. The Ravens did. Buffalo plays a clean game. You wind up losing right at the end there. I don't think this loss is going to cost Lamar his MVP. I think Lamar still should get the MVP, put his team in position. It's supposed to be a regular season award anyway, and he had more passing yards, more rushing yards, more touchdowns, less interceptions, or less turnovers. Should still be the guy. I want to see him win, though. He keeps getting all these crazy accolades, but he just can't seem to get it done in the playoffs. Man, that would be nice, right? The Jets just couldn't do a thing right in the playoffs. At the very least, you'd be feeling a little bit better about ourselves rather than just saying, oh, yeah, we're sitting on this playoff drought for how many years now? We're on decade 2? It's absurd. Boys and girls, hit that like button if you're just popping in here. Help me out. Goes a long way toward helping people discover the stream. Want to go through some of your comment questions, thoughts, concerns. I want to hear about your coaching takes, divisional round takes, all that good stuff. But before I do just want to acknowledge a sponsor of the channel. That is Via. 2025, a new you and a new year full of new possibilities. Don't let the bad times of 2024 bring you down. This year, reach for new heights with Via. Trusted by over 500,000 happy customers, Via is a Swiss Army knife of wellness dedicated to harnessing the natural benefits of hemp to create high-quality wellness products. Whether you're looking to improve your sleep, focus, recovery, add a little pep to your step, or just get high, Via has something for you with products ranging from 0 to 100 milligrams of THC. Via gives you the power to blaze your own trail. Via is well-renowned for award-winning THC and THC-free gummies and vapes, THCA flower, soothing topicals, and calming drops, all crafted with the highest quality hemp sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. And the best part, Via legally ships to nearly all states in the U.S. in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee. No medical card required. So if you're 21 or older, check out the link in my description and use code JETSTALK to receive 15% off. If you're new to Via, get a free gift of your choice. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them from. please show your support to the channel. Tell them I sent you this year. Enhance your everyday with VIA. Boys and girls, I want to get to your thoughts, comments, questions, things of that nature. See what you guys are talking about. Let's see. Joe says, that's what's worse. Not proven as well and has nothing on his resume at all. We all know it's the Lions offense. So he's talking about Aaron Glenn. There's some concern about Aaron Glenn. Zachary says, I want a running quarterback. Yeah, we definitely need someone mobile. I don't want a statue back there. As good as Aaron was from a statistical standpoint this year, his lack of mobility was concerning. Absolutely lethal when you can get Allen or Mahomes or Lamar just out on the edge. Jaden Daniels is a freak. Give it to me. Wild Wave says, it's still Glenn, Brady, McCown, Flores for me. Yeah, Flores has definitely fallen pretty far down my ranks. I shouldn't say far down my ranks, but I would say I align similarly to you, Wild Wave. If you wanted to flip Brady for Glenn, I'm totally fine with that. If you want to keep Glenn one, just let me know who his offensive coordinator is going to be. That's my biggest concern here. McCarthy also had Dak in the final 3 for MVP. That's true. That's true. Maybe consider McCarthy again. I feel like he's probably going to go to the Saints is what I've been hearing. Hurts got hit for a safety. He did, and he got like banged up pretty good earlier in that game. So I think that was part of him being injured. Got to get rid of that ball, though. Saquon rushed for nearly 300 yards in 2 games versus the Rams. He had 6, I think it was 6? I think it was 6 runs of over 60 yards, and 4 of them came against the Rams. That's insane. Or maybe it was 6 touchdowns of 60 yards or more, and 4 came against the Rams. Bino says, Ryan, do me a favor. Look at McCarthy and Tomlin's numbers. Almost identical except for playoffs. McCarthy 11 for 11. Tomlin 11 and 11. Tomlin 8 and 11. Yeah, look, established head coach is not something that I'm going to be upset with. If they wanted to go with a McCarthy, at least you know your offense is going to be, pretty highly touted. You're going to get about a top 10 offense, assuming you can get a quarterback. The issue with McCarthy is he hasn't developed a quarterback. So Dak was kind of Dak before McCarthy got there, and Rodgers was Rodgers before McCarthy was head coach of the Packers. So he's a little bit more of an unknown in terms of developing a quarterback. The other side of that coin is like McCarthy's teams are just as undisciplined, if not more, than the Jets have been over the last 5 years. The Jets were number 1 in penalties each of the last 2 years. The Jets were first place each of the last 2 years in penalties. But McCarthy has been top 10 in 4 of his 5 years in Dallas. And that 5th year, he was 11th. So, like, he's never been, like, on the right side half of the league in penalties. He's always been in, like, the top 10 conversation in penalties. That's not great. Clancy says, trade back into the first later in the round to snag Milroe. So I am kind of very against the 2025 trade into the end of the first round conversation. And here's why. I think the Jets, based on what our record's going to look like, or at least our schedule is going to look like for next year, I don't think we're going to have a great record. I think it's going to be kind of a rough year, barring like Aaron's like a crazy turnaround and he's like back to MVP form or something like that. Like, I think the Jets are going to have a rough season. I think if you're going from the second round into the tail end of the first, you probably got to get up to the mid-20s, late 20s, mid-20s. You got to get in front of probably, maybe the Lions, the Rams, teams like that. It's going to cost you your 2026 first round pick. And I don't want to give up what I think could very likely be a top 10 pick in a better quarterback class. If Milroe's there in the second and he falls to you, fine. I'm cool with that. You like Jackson Dart? He's rising up the ranks. I would rather you like. Well, I guess I don't know if I'd rather you take the quarterback at 7 because I want the blue chip prospect at 7. But I'd rather not give up a first. What I'm trying to say is I'd rather not give up the first in 2026 to get one of these late first-round quarterbacks in this year's class. I'd almost rather take the quarterback at 7, even though I don't really want to do that either. Joe says offensive guys will get the quarterback they want and a GM that will get players the coach wants. Yes, that's what we want. Hurts is the best quarterback in college football. Milroe wasn't even close. That's an awful comparison. No, yeah, I know. It's not not an apples to apples comparison at all. It's more so the play style and like the attributes. I've heard a lot of people compare Milroe to Hurts. Milroe's crazy fast. I would rather take a gamble on something like that, like a crazy athletic specimen. Jackson Dart is exciting. Who knows what the draft's going to look like? Right now, we're sitting here, we're saying there's 2 first-round quarterbacks and a bunch of guys that might go at the end of the first or like second round. But like, how many of us had Penix, Nix, J.J. McCarthy going in the first round, let alone in the top 12? So there's guys that are going to rise up draft boards. You just got to get the right hires, right development, and pick the right guy. And that's all asking a lot for where we've been. See, they're making some good points in here. Coming to my defense, Hurts was a second-round selection, Johnny Cactus, and the 5th quarterback taken in his class. Not to mention, he got, like, bounced off Alabama to go to Oklahoma. Isn't that how that all played out? Because Tua was the one that wound up going top 5, 7, whatever it was in the draft. That was a crazy draft class. Tua, Herbert, Burrow, Hurts. Was that the Dak year too? That wasn't Dak. No, Dak was earlier than that. Who's the other quarterback? 5th quarterback taken. I'm missing one. I'm sure you guys will let me know. McCarthy developed Rodgers. I don't think McCarthy developed Rodgers. Oh, you guys are arguing about if he did. Yeah, I don't think so. Mark Brunell would most likely be Aaron Glenn's offensive coordinator. Yeah, I guess that gives some vet experience, right? Some quarterback, almost like the journeyman quarterback that is McCown before McCown was McCown. The Jets don't interview Super Bowl winning coaches. They're morons. Well, Super Bowl winning coaches generally aren't leaving their team. Although if Buffalo wins the Super Bowl, Joe Brady might consider, I would think definitely consider jumping ship. Gets his ring, gets to be a head coach somewhere. Cliff Kingsbury, I don't think is going anywhere. I think he's going to stay there for a bit. Unless they win a Super Bowl, then maybe he considers making the jump. But I think he has an opportunity to get the best quarterback he wants over these next few drafts. What happened? We lost to the Steelers one good year. Yeah, I mean, we should have not lost the Steelers the way we lost. we got fucking dismantled. Absolutely terrible. People better get used to the idea of Glenn because that is who we are getting. It is 100% lock. It definitely feels like that with Quinnen and Jermaine both backing him, the public support. Now, I do think there might be a little bit of a pause. Like, we might go GM and let the GM have more say in the head coach after seeing how wildly good the offenses were this past weekend. Again, not a knock on Glenn, just in general, the new GM may want to go with the offensive-minded head coach where, like, the Jet ownership may want to go with the former Jet. I'd like to see what kind of connections our new GM could potentially have. After watching the Lions-Commanders game, I wouldn't hate giving Kingsbury a second shot. Kingsbury's the guy I would want. He's always around top quarterback talent. Yeah, whether you like him or not as a head coach, whether you think he had a major impact on these guys from a quarterback standpoint, the fact that he's been around a lot of these quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels now, Caleb Williams last year, Patrick Mahomes, Case Keenum, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. Like when I rattle off these quarterbacks, I think they all had success, whether it be in college or in the pros, while Cliff was their coach or working alongside them. There's something to that to me. I just don't think you're going to get him without offering a crazy ton of money, especially since he's on the deal he's currently on. I'm not hating, but wouldn't Rodgers get murdered against these caliber of teams this time next year? Yeah, look, the Jets are so far away from competing with any of the teams left in these playoffs. Like maybe you compete with the Eagles a little bit because like I still don't trust Hurts as a quarterback. But the Commanders are just scoring points willy-nilly. The Bills and Chiefs are both juggernauts. I don't see how the Jets could possibly contend until you get a quarterback that can be as mobile as some of the quarterbacks we see left in the playoffs. Allen, Kingsbury, Cohen, Monken, Johnson, Carroll, McCarthy all don't want us. Yeah. That is a product of the Jets hiring Adam Gase in 2019 and Woody Johnson being a bumbling fool. What's up, Blitz? Says, anyone else disappointed in the Lions defense? I'll be honest. I was. When I was sitting there watching the game, I thought, oh man, this is not a great look for Aaron Glenn. And I don't put this totally on him like at all. He's got a B team defense right now. You want him to be that CEO style head coach, not just a one side of the unit kind of guy. But I look at that game and I say, man, I want the offenses from those teams. I want Ben Johnson. I want Cliff Kingsbury. Aaron Glenn could be a great coach. Dan Quinn, coach of the Commanders, defensive guy. No reason a defensive coach can't be a top head coach and get this team where we need to get. But man, watching that game, I'm sitting there thinking, that is just the type of offense I want. How do we get that? That would be my my question. Get me that, and then I'll be happy. Milroe would need to sit a year, absolutely. But I would be willing to take a chance if I could get him late 1 or 2nd. I would be fine with it. If that was the selection we made, I think there's a special enough trait about him. Like for Josh Allen, it was his size and his arm strength. For Milroe, it's his wild speed. And you can't teach speed. Who knows if he'll be able to process at the NFL level with how fast everything gets. But man, at least just entertain me. That's all I'm really asking for at this point. Just entertain me. Wildwave says, I really hope we get Sullivan as GM. Brian Gutekunst knows how to build through the draft and make great trades. Example of how he took Woody to school in the Rodgers trade. Yeah, we had them over a barrel, and Woody forced the damn trade to happen prior to the draft. Sticking to my guns on that one. Oh, Jordan Love. That's right. That's what I was missing. Burrow, Herbert, Tua, Love, then Hurts. Hoping that Aaron Glenn picks the Saints. It seems like he wants the Jet job if he had to pick one. I do like that he would want the Jets job. I think that is something that shouldn't be overlooked. It shouldn't be the only determining factor. But I do like it. Rico says, so if the Jets hire Glenn, is it a race to hire him before Ben Johnson gets a job so you can hire staff from the Lions before they go with Johnson? Yes and no. I think they probably have a pretty good understanding that Johnson's going to leave. Like, if I were on these staffs, I'd be like, hey, look, if I'm going to go somewhere, especially since the games have ended, yesterday, these guys are all talking like, hey, look, I am going to be leaving. This is where I'm going to be headed. Tanner Engstrand is the guy I would want as offensive coordinator. I do think he's likely to stay in Detroit to be the new offensive coordinator once Ben Johnson leaves. So I don't know. I don't know who we're pulling from that staff. We mentioned Mark Brunell. I think is he quarterback's coach? Is that what it is? Leo says Joe Brady time. Yeah, after watching the divisional round, I would say he's elevated. He might be number one on my list right now, assuming Cliff Kingsbury isn't an option. It sucks because I feel like I flip-flopped. It's like, okay, I like Flores, I like the discipline, I like that. Then I do a little bit more research into him, and I'm like, man, this guy's kind of an asshole. Doesn't get along with anyone. Still go that route. Cool. I get it. Aaron Glenn gets me all Hard Knocks hyped up. And then, offenses go wild. His defense looks like crap. I'm like, maybe that's not the guy. Sorry. Just being honest. It's not consistent. It's all right. Joe Brady, though, you guys know, for the last few years, I've been saying if you could weaken a division rival, usually this is by way of free agency, not by way of draft or by coaches. But if you can weaken a division rival, you play them twice a year, strengthen yourself, give yourself a little inside knowledge into them on a consistent basis, at least for some degree of time. I've always liked it. Blitz Crew, heard rumors we might take a chance on Josh McCown. No, sorry. Heard rumors we might take a chance on Mac Crotch Puncher Jones, would rather try for Fields for a year, but really want McCown for OC. I want McCown for OC. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to have to be head coach or not. And if they decide to do that, that's totally fine. I'm fine with doing the offensive guy. And especially since McCown knows so many people, I feel like he could put a staff around him that's competent. And then you alleviate some of the first-time pass or first-time play caller issues that you run into. So him as head coach, I'm not totally against. But as far as Mac Jones, I'm out. I would not be a happy Jet fan if we get Mac Jones in here. I think he's a real prick. I think he's a dirty player, and I don't want any part of him. I'd be very disappointed if that's the route the Jets went. The last time the Lions won a title, Puerto Rico had free healthcare. I would say it has been a while. Did they even have a... Do they have like a national championship or something? Because I don't think they have a Super Bowl, right? That's why I guess you said title. Joe the Jet. See you in 2045 then, Ryan. We're going to suck a long time. Yeah. Yeah, I'm aware. I don't see it getting any better. The Shield. Aaron can light up any team with a competent head coach, with the receivers being able to catch, like how Adams started doing when he arrived. Wilson was doing nothing but running the wrong routes. I wish Garrett and Aaron got along better. I think a lot of this stems from Garrett's freak athleticism and probably a feeling of not needing to overly study the way Aaron wants him to. That's something we heard during training camp too, is like there's so much that goes into being in the right spot at the right time where you need to be based on what defenses are saying. I think Garrett's so wildly athletic that he could just rely on his athletic ability. And I think that's probably the rift you're seeing. I don't know. I just want to win some fucking games. Jared Goff is not mobile. No, he's not. He's not, but that offense is crazy good. I would say he's more mobile than Aaron, though. It's that. I think Vegas has become more attractive because of Brady's involvement. Yes. I also think they're going to move mountains to try and get Shedeur Sanders. So I think Ben Johnson's going there with the idea that they're going to get him the quarterback. or they're going to, like, maybe they trade for Dak and they give up a bunch of picks. Then he gets his quarterback that way. If there's a situation where Jerry Jones wants to try and get Shedeur Sanders, although I would think Dak would have to go to the Titans for that to actually work out. Ron Weiss. Hey, buddy. Cindy and I are about to leave for DC tomorrow. Do you think we will have a GM by the time we return to Jersey? Ron, I hope you have a safe trip. I don't know if it's snowing down by that area, but we got whacked up here, so definitely. Oh, no, you're from up here, duh, and you're going to DC. So be safe driving in the weather. Do I think we'll have a GM by the time you return to Jersey? I don't know when you're returning to Jersey, but I would say this week the Jets are going to get their GM because the Senior Bowl is next week. Is that right? Is it the end of this week or next week? I think it's next week. I think it's the last week in January. And I think they'll want to be a part of that to some degree. I think we do pick the GM before we pick the head coach. Hopefully early in the week we find out about the GM. We're having second round interviews, I think, this week. I hope we get a good answer. And I'm fine with rolling the dice on someone at this point. Just, like I said, entertain me. That's all I want. Wildwave says, I could see why McVay kicked Goff to the curb. Yeah, look, Stafford's really friggin' good. I think Goff is efficient, but I don't look at him and say he's got something special going on. I feel like the success that Goff has seen has been more of a product of a crazy good offense than Goff himself. I think he complements that offense well. Yo, what happens if, like, I guess they wouldn't, Goff just signed a deal. I was going to say, what happens if, like, Goff follows Ben Johnson somewhere? They give up a pick for that. And then the Lions are just like, we're getting a crazy quarterback at the top of the draft. That's dumb. That's not happening. My brain is broken. That's what it is. I'll tell you what I do want to see, though. I want to see the Commanders take the Eagles to church. Just beat them down next week. And then I want to see Buffalo beat Kansas City. Because screw Mahomes and the Chiefs. I'd rather see Buffalo in the Super Bowl. And you know what would make me really happy? Would be if a rookie quarterback got his first Super Bowl and gave the Buffalo Bills their 5th Super Bowl loss. That's what I want to see. Give me a Buffalo loss in the Super Bowl. And that's about as much of a win as I could pull away from this season. Watch JT Barrett to join Glenn. Rich says Flores really scares me. I liked him too, but the stuff about him stresses me out. Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at on him. The more I dig into him, the less I'm like, I don't know if I want to deal with that. I think he'll hold players accountable, and I do think he'll get the most out of players most of the time, but I think he's going to rub people the wrong way. We're going to wind up losing coaches and, like, alienate people, and I don't know if I really want that. The fact the Jets' run game was so bad is gross malpractice on the coaching side. Yeah, I don't know why we're as bad as we were. That was something that I thought was going to be a strength for us. I don't know if that was just because Aaron wasn't pushing the ball further down the field, if the blocking schemes up front just caused us issues. Brees seemed to be very hesitant, so I don't know if the blocking style that we had going to a power man, if that just threw him for more of a loop this year. Why in the midst of a 14-year playoff drought do so many Jet fans want first-time coaches? Do we want poverty on perpetuity? I think the allure with first-time head coaches is that you might strike gold and they could be your coach for the long term. Guys that have been retread head coaches, we've already seen them once, so it's not always necessarily a great thing. Like Flores is a good example of that. He outperformed where the league thought his teams would be each of those 3 years, but he ultimately failed. He alienated coaches, and it just didn't come off right. Mike McCarthy been in 2 stints as a head coach. Maybe not the right way to go. There's warts on everyone that's available as a head coach, whether it be because they're a first-time head coach or because they were a failed head coach at one point, getting another opportunity. Brees will be Saquon 2.0 if we let him go, no doubt. Yeah, I don't want to see him go. I don't know if I'm ready to say like the Jets should extend him or anything like that, but I would like to let him play out this year and then franchise tag him a year. That's why I kind of want to exercise Jermaine Johnson's 5th-year option. I'd like to keep Brees around one more year, and I think if you don't, then you run the risk of almost needing to franchise JJ if he performs. Now, maybe you argue that that's better than like paying him the $15 million 5th-year option and then seeing that he's like totally blown out his Achilles and it's just never going to work out again. But I'm hoping Brees can hang around a little bit longer. But it seems like he's ready to go score points and be on an offense that's a little more exciting. Alan says, looked at the Lions free agent list. Levi might come with Glenn. Not much else I desire. Yeah, I had Levi in my mock off season coming with Glenn. He's the interior defensive lineman for the Lions. So I'd be on board with that. I don't think he's going to cost a crazy ton either. Joe says our main focus should be on a GM or head coach that can get a quarterback and develop him. Draft or free agent, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't care where we get our guy from. I know, there's some argument to be made for the free agent route and reclamation project, guys that have been around the league, the pressure that this particular team puts on the quarterback. I don't know if it's conducive for a rookie, unless you're saying, hey, look, rookie, you're getting drafted this year. If Jets want to take Jackson Dart early, and they say you're sitting behind Rodgers for a year, maybe 2. Who knows? Who knows what things could happen? I like the sit and learn route without the pressure of needing to be the guy. Jake asks, could Jackson Dart rise draft boards and be in conversation of an early first rounder? Maybe an option if we trade down late first. I think he's going to be an option for us at 7. I think you're going to see him fly up draft boards. I really do. I watched a little bit of tape on him. Now, I haven't watched full games. This is me just watching highlights of him and like diving into that side of it. And he's exciting. He's a fun player to watch. Do I want them to? I would love to see us get him in the 2nd round. That seems delightful. But I think he's ultimately going to move himself into the 1st. And the Jets need a quarterback. And if you think you got Rodgers coming back for an additional year, why not sit him behind him for a season? Becton's a free agent. Yeah, he's not coming back here. Had himself a pretty decent season, though. Do you think we're going to end up firing our coach and GM that we hire this year if we end up with a top 5 pick in the upcoming deep quarterback draft? No, because I think anyone who's getting this opportunity to be head coach or GM is going to make sure Woody pays them for enough years that he won't get rid of them after a season. I would be very surprised. Unless the Jets get the number 1 overall pick, and like, even then, I don't see a GM. I think if they take a quarterback high in this class, and let's say you have a Josh Rosen sort of situation where it's like, oh, we drafted Josh Rosen, and he's terrible. It, by all accounts, it looks horrible. Then maybe, and if you get the number 1 overall pick and it's a really good, quarterback, then maybe you rip the Band-Aid off and you do something like that. But I would be very surprised if we would fire our head coach and GM after a season. I don't see it. We need to restore credibility first, then worry about striking gold. Yeah, look, lightning in a bottle, striking gold, whatever. I just want to be entertained. Entertain me. Logan, how do you feel about Glenn after the performance yesterday, even with injuries and Goff sucking? I feel stronger about Ben Johnson and Cliff Kingsbury than I do about the negative side of what happened with Glenn. And I don't know how much of it was negative with him necessarily. I think having some failures like that doesn't make you a bad head coach, but it does, I think, highlight how important offense is. And I think that's where I sort of stand on the Aaron Glenn front. You want to make that pick and have him be your head coach? That's fine. I just hope we get a really good offensive mind in here because I think offense is going to be the only way we turn this ship around. Ryan, would you trade Brees for a second rounder and then pick Monungai in the third? Monungai. I must not know who that is. I know I've watched like a handful of running backs. If I could get a second round pick for Brees, I'd probably consider it. Even if it was like a 2026 second round pick, I might consider it. I like Braylon Allen a lot. I like Isaiah Davis a lot. I think I'd be more inclined to hold off until the trade deadline. But a second round pick is a pretty nice return for Brees at this point because I don't think he's going to want to be around here long term. And I don't think the Jets are going to pay him either. Rich, the more I think about it, the more I think we need to go offense. I want Glenn, but I worry it might be a lower ceiling. I think McCown might be the best pick for head coach, then trade up for a quarterback next year. Yeah, McCown to me feels like as much as I would like Joe Brady, I don't see Joe Brady as choosing the Jets. Because I think he'll have the opportunity, much like Cliff Kingsbury, to kind of pick where he wants to go. And I don't know if there's a better spot right now. Like maybe he ends up in Jacksonville. It sounds like Liam Cohen's a finalist for that job. That would be interesting. But I feel like these offensive guys are going to set themselves up to have a quarterback. JV, Rodgers has at least 5 more years in him. Brady stopped at 45 and was still good. Rodgers is in better shape than Brady. I don't buy that for a second. Now maybe he bounces back from this Achilles even better, and if he has a really good season next year, I'm fine with bringing him back. I'm not holding my breath for that to happen. You're right. We should get Glenn, get the first pick, and then get Arch Manning. Yeah, it sounds like Arch might come out next year because teams are already talking about him being a top 5 pick. Cliff has to get a job after yesterday's game. I think he'll be able to pick wherever he wants to go. And if I were him, because of how much money he's currently getting paid, he's getting paid $7.5 million a year till 2027, thanks to the Cardinals overpaying him. Not overpaying him, but giving him a contract extension before he got fired. So there's no real financial reason for him to leave. So the only benefit would be if you're going to end up in a perfect situation. Because he's in a great situation right now with Jaden Daniels. Realistically, it would be like being the offensive coordinator for Josh Allen. Knowing he's going to be consistently good year over year over year. And you will be able to write your ticket eventually whenever you want to do that. Especially because McDermott's a defensive guy up in Buffalo. So Joe Brady will be able to have that sort of, be able to hang his hat on that type of offense. And like him being the guy that did it. Then you look at Jaden Daniels. It's clearly Cliff Kingsbury on the offensive side that is assisting with the development of Jaden Daniels. Obviously, the talent of Jaden Daniels is second to, not many. But I don't think Cliff's leaving. I saw you were out on McCarthy as head coach because of him being top 10 in penalties, but you are in on Glenn, whose defense has been top 10 as well in penalties since he took over as head coach. Why? I'll be honest, I didn't really know that Glenn was top 10 in penalties on the defensive side of the ball. So that's new information for me. But I am out on McCarthy. I shouldn't say I'm out on McCarthy. I don't think he's improving an area that I think is a very big issue for the Jets. Glenn, I'd have to probably reassess because I did not know the penalty thing with him. But it's interesting. Let's talk Rez. The Vikings pass game coordinator worked with Glenn on the Browns under Shanahan. Really? All right, let's take him. Why not? You want to trust a Manning coming here If we get the first pick, my money says another Eli situation happens with that pick. Maybe. It depends how you get your how you build your franchise right. But I seem to agree. I don't. I'm not going to hold my breath for Arch Manning. No way the Jets can hire Glenn after yesterday's performance. 45 points at home to a rookie. Jeez. Yeah, you would have liked to see him ball out. Really would have liked to have seen that. I thought he dialed up a good masterclass against the Vikings the week prior. Or I guess 2 weeks prior because they had the bye week. Joe Brady isn't coming here. Neither is Ben Johnson. Yeah, that's kind of why I think McCown might be the route you have to go. I think Joe Brady's going to be able to punch his ticket anywhere, and I think the Jets are just not a desirable location. It is strange that all the top offensive coordinators and offensive head coaches refuse to interview with the Jets. I think it's Joe Brady, or I think it's Woody Johnson. I think that's the big issue. And we're not really in like a good spot right now either. We don't have a quarterback. These offensive guys are going to want to go somewhere where they have like a proven dude. At this stage, just rehire Salad. No, I don't really want to see that. Alan, remember, Dan Quinn got his job this year after the Cowboys got shredded versus the Packers in last year's playoffs. Yes, great point. Never hold your breath with the Jets. You will most certainly die. How does Cliff not pick the Bears? I mean, he might. He may choose the Bears. I don't know if I necessarily would. Now, he obviously coached with Caleb Williams at USC. He was an offensive analyst last year or offensive advisor. But I'm not a big Caleb Williams fan. I thought Jaden Daniels was the top quarterback in this past class. I believe that proven to be the case so far. And Cliff might tend to agree. I think we should give Rex 1 year if we want Arch. At least it'll be nostalgic. Just entertain me. I'm not even hoping for wins at this point. I just want to be entertained. As screwy as that sounds, I just want to be entertained. What salary do you give Glenn as a first-timer? I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's Woody's money, and it does not come out of our salary cap. They could give him $100 million a year, and I could give 2 shits. Are we looking at a saving grace Rex Ryan hire? I feel like they've said Rex is out of the running, but I could see a situation where like so much shit goes wrong for the Jets that they're like, you know what? Rex is just the kind of guy we need. And it's like a holdover hire for like a year or two until the Jets look more attractive. Kind of like what the Texans did with, was it David Culley? Was that the head coach they had for like 2 years? I don't want a forced marriage with head coach and GM. No, that's why I think the GM should get here first and let the GM have a say on making this decision. It really is sad how good these teams are to the Jets. They are just really good. They're so much better. The New York Jets, where offense goes to die. Trevor Lawrence, Caleb Williams are proven. Yeah, well, I think Joe Brady or Cliff could go to either one of those, and I think they're drastically better situations than us. I just don't think... I think Joe Brady's more likely to leave than Cliff. Like, for me, I think Cliff, with the offense he's in right now, the money he's making, seems, at least to me, like I would prefer an ideal situation. And maybe he sees one of those as that. I don't. Ulbrich just got a new job before the Jets go even to second round of interviews. Yeah, that's all right. He's a defensive coordinator. I don't really get the direction this team is headed in to get to too good to get a top 2 draft pick, not good enough to make the playoffs. Yeah, but I'm fine with the Jets. Like, if you want to load up on talent this year, and go best player available and then just push all the chips in and go up and get your quarterback next year, I'm kind of okay with that. But I also don't want to just neglect quarterback this year. I don't want a Mahomes, Watson, like us passing on them when you have the opportunity to take them. Just keep getting a quarterback till you get it right. Harlan, Collie was the head coach of the Texans for one season. Yeah, that's who I was talking about. That's the type of head coach I think Rex would kind of be. It would be like holdover, get the Jets' pride going, sell some tickets, and then make it look attractive for someone else. Dylan says, I like the 1-year deal for Rex. What else do we have to lose? We're not doing much next year. We're not doing much next year, and maybe it kind of allows you the opportunity to get a new head coach the year after. But ideally, I'd want our new head coach here this year learning the players before drafting a quarterback and having a good idea and understanding of who these players are. So I don't really want Rex. You the man for still holding strong, Ryan. Much love from another Jets fan. Dude, Rez, thank you. Greatly appreciated. This team gives me heartburn. Ted says, it's amazing what the Commanders have accomplished this past season with the number 2 pick and a proven head coach. I wish the Jets can have that kind of luck. Remember last year when I got a lot of shit for being super pissed off that the Jets beat the Commanders on that Christmas Eve game? That field goal that Zerline kicked, that 55-yarder or whatever the hell it was at the end of regulation, that saved the Commanders franchise. The Jets would have been in the number 2 pick if we didn't win that game. At the very least, because we did wind up being the Patriots the final game of the season. At the very least, you're in position to get Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze or someone at the top of last year's draft. That win really pissed me off. I have not had a reaction like that like in a while. Like that game just triggered me. You're winning by like 4 touchdowns, and then Brissett comes in and just immediately eviscerates that lead, and you're forced to win it on a last-second field goal just to tank your draft stock. Ugh, that hurt. But at least we got an Olu, as Rich Rise is saying here. I was upset because I thought we were going to miss out on Olu and Alton. We still got Olu. So I really should not get as flustered as I did. Boys and girls, I appreciate you all for hanging out. If you haven't done so already, head over to BetUS, get a 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 with code YouTube150. Who will the Jets' next head coach be? These were the odds prior to the divisional round. Aaron Glenn minus 150, Brian Flores plus 250, Joe Brady plus 500. Are any 3 of these guys the next head coach of the New York Jets? How would you rank them? Let me know in the comment section down below. Boys and girls, I greatly appreciate your time. Hit that like button on the way out of here, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I'll be back with Dom. We're doing the call-in show after that tomorrow. Stay safe and stay warm. This is Jets Talk signing off. JETS.
One, two, three.